everyone, and very welcome to the second episode of Rollup Dialogues. My name is Paul Claudius. I'm one of the co-founders at Dia, and I'm super excited to have with me here today Wang Hao from AltLayer. This is the second edition, as I said, from Rollup Dialogues, and we here at Dia, being an integral part of the infrastructure, want to bring in a diverse set of participants in the broader RaaS ecosystem. So RaaS providers such as AltLayer, L2s, infrastructure providers such as ourselves, and understand the journey we're all on and how rollups are changing. So without further ado, I'd love to kick this off and give Wang the introduction here. So Wang, thanks so much for joining. And it would be great if you could just share a bit about yourself, your journey into Web3, and what brought you to AltLayer.
Yep, definitely. Thank you so much for the invitation, Paul. So, hello everyone. This is Wen Hao. I'm handling the partnership at AltLayer, and AltLayer, what we're doing is we're building a Rollup as a service infrastructure that allows people to easily deploy their own dedicated Rollup, to have their own dedicated block space and execution environment for their project in general, while able to control, manage all this Rollup configuration that they want in general for their Rollup architecture. Other than that, we are also closely working with EigenLayer, which we introduced an innovative approach, which is called Restake Rollup. So a Restake Rollup, it's a framework that allows you to add on three major functionalities that act as an add-on within your Rollup architecture. So one of the first one is called Vital, which is a decentralized verification layer for Rollup in general, so that it will check the state transition within the Rollup architecture, and whenever there's an invalid state transition, they would stop receiving requests from the users in general. The second AVS that we're building is something which we call MAC, which receives pre-confirmation from the product that I mentioned before, Vital, that allows you to have fast finality within your Rollup architecture in general. At the moment, the rough finality time within Ethereum is around 13 minutes, and with this MAC product, you're able to achieve finality within few seconds in general, along with EigenLayer. And we recently have just launched our first two AVS along with EigenLayer, which is AltLayer MAC, and which is validating OP mainnet at the moment, and as well as Exterior MAC, which is validating Exterior chain, which have roughly around 76 million transactions at the moment. And the last product we're building is also an AVS, which is called Squad, that allows you to have decentralized sequencing in general, as most of the Rollup SDK at the moment acts like a single sequencer model, which is centralized. You are able to achieve like censorship mitigation, etc. So that's an overall of what we're building in AltLayer. And I joined the company 2 years ago. Previously, I was a research analyst in a centralized exchange. And after I pivoted to AltLayer to support the growth and partnership at AltLayer in general. Yeah, glad to see everyone here.
Thanks so much for the great overview. And I'd have like a bunch of follow-up questions, especially on those three products you just introduced. But maybe let's just take one step back to have everyone here. I'm sure a bunch of people listening in who are very familiar with like all the nitty-gritty details. But let's be also very welcoming to the people who are not so familiar with RaaS infrastructure. Another of those acronyms, right, in the space.
Yeah, definitely.
So RaaS standing for Rollup as a Service. Could you just like simplify this whole concept for the audience and maybe connect this a bit to really the significance of RaaS for the ecosystem and also Ethereum as an ecosystem in particular?
Yeah, definitely. So Rollup as a Service, this term came out on when SDK, Rollup Framework SDK became relatively easy to deploy for users, as there's a lot of companies at the moment are for example, companies like AltLayer, we are dedicated to make having your own blockchain as easy as possible to be deployed. As previously, if you want to have your own dedicated blockchain, in the previous days, you would approach by several SDK frameworks such as like Avalanche Subnet, Polkadot Parachain, Cosmos SDK, etc., whereby you have to bootstrap your own set of validators or own set of P2P nodes to have your own dedicated blockchain. And a lot of times, most of the users doesn't have much of the expertise to launch this blockchain, maintain this blockchain, and host this blockchain whenever they encounter some issues, debug, etc., etc. And the goal of Rollup as a service is we simplify the whole experience of having a blockchain into a simple click in general. So in simple terms, users that want to have their own dedicated block space to perform some of the execution environment, such as like deploying a DEX for test environment, having their own ecosystem to secure the sequencing revenue to themselves. Now you're able to complete it with an external organization such as AltLayer that allows you to focus on building your dApp application, focus on building your own ecosystem instead of managing, hosting all these complicated technical details that require professional knowledge in general. Yeah.
Alex, great. Thanks for dissecting this here. So when I think AltLayer is really such an interesting product you guys are building, and I think it is a great case study when you want to describe like the modular stack, I guess,
Yeah.
throughout the ecosystem. So I mean, you guys keep care, like you're basically solving the issue as you described, like the sequencer, you connect to the rollup stack, data availability, you ensure that there's interoperability, the settlement as well. So that's a lot of different options, and I mean we probably don't have the time to go through all of those, and you really, I think, have a very interesting approach of partnering with the most, I guess, cutting edge modules in that space and bringing those together. You just previously touched upon one of those new products, the decentralized sequencer. I think like everybody who's like following the space has been introduced to the concept that sequencers are centralized, right? So can you maybe walk us through like this initial starting point of a centralized sequencer and moving to a decentralized sequencer? What does this actually mean for like security aspects, and how is this something live, and do you expect large adoption of it?
Yeah, definitely. So, regarding the approach that we aim towards Rollup, as we believe that the whole Rollup space are relatively new at the moment, so that it does make sense that at this current stage, a lot of things that are not available, including Paul, you mentioned that you referred to data availability. So at the moment, some of the production ready data availability solution, such as like EigenDA and Celestia, for example, some of the tech stack are also not fully ready at this current stage, and it requires progressive improvement towards all this underlying tech stack. So our goal at AltLayer to build a very unique product first is we would like to be as modular as possible, so that at this current stage, AltLayer, we have pretty much integrated all underlying DA providers, EigenDA, Celestia, Aveo, etc. We even integrated different kind of shared sequencing solutions such as Espresso and Radius, as well as developing our own decentralized sequencing product in general. And the special thing about decentralized sequencing is, as you may have known, most of the rollup architecture are pretty much very centralized, and the major risks that you encounter includes like censorship mitigation, single point of failure, and liveliness issue. And with this decentralized sequencing product, you're able to have multiple nodes that are running the rollup architecture with you, with economical collateral backing behind this. It could be with restake assets. As you may have known, EigenLayer is one of the hottest topic in the space these days, and it's an easier way for you to bootstrap economical security through restaking mechanism, so that with all this decentralized sequencing in general, you're able to have economical collateral backing. Second is you're able to have a more decentralized system, as well as you're able to choose the trusted node company that you are delegating to. For example, hey, I want Figment Capital, I want, for example, Galaxy to run my nodes for me. And you, as a rollup owner, you're able to delegate to the node operator that you trust with economical backing and slashing conditions behind this. So that's what's the specialty about a decentralized sequencing product. Instead of, hey, I can shut down your rollup easily. With decentralized sequencing, you can pretty much not do anything about it, because there will be multiple other node operators will backing this rollup up to be function in general. Yeah.
Oh, that's super fascinating, and congrats on really innovating the space here. I mean, you just described AltLayer as being extremely modular. When we speak with different clients who require oracles on their on their future Rask chain, Rollup chain, I feel like I'm running into two different personas. One which very much appreciates like the modularity and has a very clear idea of what they want, and then we also speak with clients who would like to, I guess, receive a more productized solution, which they can just deploy and then iterate at a later stage. How do you see these? Do you see just one client type? Do you also see these two personas, different ones? And do you plan to cater to both of those, or just to a very sophisticated user who has a very specialized need and requires the modularity you're offering?
Yeah, definitely. So I do agree that different clients have different kind of needs in terms of their rollup architecture, and there's a lot of amazing third-party integration partners that could be benefiting the rollup as an add-on for the dApps deploying on top of them in general. So, for example, we're also working with Dia, which is a cross-chain Oracle provider that allows people to have like price feed data easily on top of the rollup architecture. And for example, some of the users that are rollup users that are specifically for DEXs. So recently we have partnered with a partner called Doodle Chain, which is one of the largest Arbitrum DEX in the space at the moment. And with this such of client type, we would need like Oracle partners onboarded. We would need a better indexer provider onboarded. We need like for example a better explorer, better RPC endpoint, etc., etc. So at AltLayer we do have a rollup suite of product that allow people to pick what they prefer in terms of, like as mentioned, oracles, indexer, explorers, bridges, data availability layers, etc. And clients are feel free to pick whatever trusted partner that they want within their rollup suites in general. Yeah.
I mean, you guys are really orchestrating everything here together, and I'm wondering, like, where does this stop? Like, do you see this even expanding beyond the different infrastructure components? Because I think lots of people, and I'm not sure I agree with this wholeheartedly, are questioning if rollups will not further fragment the user experience. And I think this can be the case, but I at the same time see lots of solutions being built which can cater to better UX. Do you see your role as a RaaS provider also like going even beyond the infrastructure? And I mean, with Dodo, I think one could argue that you are even partially doing this, but like, do you see this even going further and ensuring a great UX or possibly like harmonizing liquidity? So basically taking care of all the issues that a rollup might encounter.
Regarding like UX orchestration, I do agree that at the moment with more and more infrastructure that in this space, it will be more complicated for users to use like for example a new chain whereby they have to fill in like a new chain ID, RPC endpoint, Explorer, etc. And it's starting like users have to bridge assets over from L1 to L2 or L2 to L3 to kickstart with an new L2 chains in general. As a rollup as a service provider, as mentioned by Paul, our goal is to simplify users' experience as much as possible. So previously we have developed a dashboard that allows people to launch a rollup within a few clicks to kind of improvise the customer's experience in general, as well as we are working with a lot of like third-party bridges at the moment that allows you to bridge assets behind the scene without doing a lot of complicated part. So recently we also have partnered with partners such as like Halliday or Singularity that allows you to pay with debit card while they bridge the assets on behalf of you towards your own dedicated L2 chains. So I believe, yes, there are still some of the UX problem that we're facing towards retail users, but I think that this is gradually solved step by step towards all these infrastructure partners, for example, like for DIA, either for like account abstraction partners, either for rollup providers, step by step at this current moment. Yeah.
Yeah, it's super fascinating. Thanks for sharing this. I mean, it's really a unique perspective you have at this space. So super excited to learn more here. I'd like to go back maybe to something you already mentioned. You were speaking about, and I mean, it's a very strong narrative, right? AltLayer, restaking, and you guys introduced like the concept of a restaked rollup. I'd be curious. Do you believe this will be a product most of your clients will be using, and how does this compare from an economic perspective to your average rollup? Obviously, you can have enhanced security at, I don't know, tip of a button. At the same time, in the long run, there are certain costs associated to it. Can you maybe walk us through like how do you expect this to be of relevance for your clients as a product, and what is the economic impact of using a restaked rollup?
Yeah, definitely. So regarding the restake rollup product, I have two different perspectives in terms of like the advantage of clients using this restake rollup frameworks in general. In terms of the tech perspective, as mentioned, like for example, functionality such as decentralized verification allows you to have additional amount of security by, for example, like a single node. Basically, you are kind of like a security assumption that, hey, trust me, bro, this kind of security assumption. And with a bunch of validator nodes with economical collateral backing, you're able to have a better tiered security compared to a single sequence root in general. The second part is in terms of the text perspective, finality is one of the requirement that a lot of dApps or rollup users would like to have in general to process faster transactions, smoother user experience, etc. And therefore, finality reasons is also one of the tech reasons that why users should use our rollup framework as well. And the third reason is for decentralization in general. So that's more on the tech perspective, which I previously mentioned before. But in terms of like as a project perspective, like a growth or strategy perspective, you are having a more methodologies to reward your users in general. So first of all, by running a restake rollup framework, you need to have a set of validators, and all this set of validators require stake assets behind, so that you have a more engaging way for users to stake your assets on top of validator nodes to earn APY in general. And as a project, you are able to find more engaging way to incentivize your community through an incentive reward, staking reward in general. As well as you are able to have your staking contract that to see like how engageful that your project is, like your community is towards your tokens performance, tokens value lock, etc., etc. And you also can play around with future like airdrop opportunities, whereby you can talk with other of your ecosystem partners, say, hey, I have a staking contract now. Since you're within my ecosystem, would you like to airdrop towards my community, for example? So there's a lot of different kind of methodologies that you're able to play around with your community, as well as incentivize your community by using this restake rollup framework instead of just using a standalone rollup, which is just a pure execution environment in general. Yeah.
That's super interesting. Thanks for sharing this. How do you see in the setup the utility of a token being impacted? Do you think just the role of a token within a chain changes? Is it possibly replaced by having security guarantee, which is not from the native asset? And like, is it harder to find value in it?
I think that there's two type of perspective in general. So first is having native token, and if the native token is quite volatile, it could be risky for stakers in general because your economical collateral backing the validators are volatile in general. So I believe that as most of the people know as well, EigenLayer introduced a dual token staking mechanism that you're able to have Ethereum as a collateral in general, as well as your own native token in general. So with this mechanism that are onboarded, you're able to balance like the ratio that you want in general. For example, hey, I want 30% of my native token stake as economical security guarantee, and as well as I want Ethereum, which is the most influential security assets in the space, as an economical collateral. So I believe that yes, regarding native token as a security guarantee token would have imposed a certain risk depending on the volatility of the token, but I believe this is adjustable depending on the risk appetite of each validators or each stakers in general. Yeah.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, makes absolute sense, and I think this dual token staking really opened the door to find great combinations here. Thanks for highlighting this.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe let's again take a bit like the educational bird's eye perspective. So I think some of our listeners are possibly well aware of different rollup architectures, but also to share a bit of knowledge for the people who haven't spent so much time in the space. Maybe you can just give them a quick rundown on the difference between ZK and optimistic rollups, and also super curious to see where do you think those two options, who's gonna win and why?
Yeah, definitely. So before to start that topic in general, I'm just gonna give like a quick rundown what is like optimistic rollup architecture, and also what is ZK rollup architecture in general. So within the rollup like optimistic rollup architecture in general, you are generally assuming that this rollup is optimistically correct, and isn't like malicious activity or fraud within the rollup in general, so that you wouldn't like accuse or think that this rollup is doing something bad in general. So with this design in general, you pretty much don't have to run anything else compared to the sequencers in general. And to prove that this rollup is wrong, you're able to submit a fraud proof to dispute and say, hey, I think that this rollup's state have invalid state transition, and I believe that for example, it has to be slash, or it has to be done with a rollback for the rollup in general. So generally, optimistic rollup such as OP Stack and Arbitrum Orbit are relatively fast and cheap to run. For example, just to give a rough figure at the moment, running an optimistic rollup architecture will cost you around like $4,000 to $5,000 each month. Because the nodes specification within optimistic rollup architecture are slightly cheaper, and the computation power is not relatively high. The most computation power comes from an optimistic rollup architecture comes from the RPC, whereby they are accruing bunch of requests from different users in general. However, for the ZK rollup side, which is like Polygon CDK and zkSync Hyperchain, they are running a machine which is called Prover, that are generating validity proof constantly to prove that, hey, I have checked the whole rollup state with mathematical proof and cryptographic proof that, hey, this is correct. And the benefits of this is you're able to have a better finality within a ZK proof architecture in general. And you're able to commit to functionality such as withdrawal. Within a ZK rollup architecture, you're able to commit like an instant withdrawal towards Ethereum L1 or other chains in general. However, on optimistic rollup architecture, because you have this fraud proof and a dispute period, you have to wait for 7 days before you're able to withdraw your assets out from this L2 in general. So that's the major difference. So regarding benefits for optimistic rollup architecture is definitely the cost, because you don't have to run a prover. But however, the disadvantage is you have this 7 days withdrawal period on top of native bridges. On the ZK rollup perspective, it's slightly more expensive to run due to you have to run a prover machine, but you're able to avoid this 7 days bridging withdrawal period in general. But I do believe that ZK rollup in the future will be optimized and improvised along through time in general, and it will be cheaper and faster to run a ZK rollup, I believe. So this is something that we still have to figure out, but generally I'm bullish on ZK rollup as well. Yeah.
Love it. Thanks. I think we can really create a blog post from this great explanation you gave. So super concise. Appreciate that. And I mean, what's so beautiful about this space? Everybody has options and beliefs and convictions. I guess same can be said, even though people believe one option might be better than the other. People have the choice between different RAS providers. So giving you here a bit of the opportunity to, even though that's not needed at all, but to chill AltLayer and its value proposition against. There's a couple of other folks, Gelato, Caldera, Conduit. It feels to me that they are more looking for a productized solution, while you are providing this really strong modularity and ability to choose. Maybe just for the people listening in and who are considering spinning up a rollup, maybe you can just give some context for what type of partners AltLayer is a great fit, and for what use cases you believe you guys are best equipped.
Yep, definitely. So we do believe that when there are more rollup as a service player, it makes the modular space a bit more interesting and a bit more convenient for all of the users in the space in general. So as mentioned by Paul, we at Outlayer we take a more differentiation approach that we are. Most of our founders and our team came from academia backgrounds, so that we actually know that what rollup users need in general, in terms of when they are using this architecture or this rollup that we deployed for that. So that our goal within Outlayer in general, other than just helping people host this rollup, we aim to constantly build our own product and improvise the whole rollup space as well. I guess that's the main difference of us between other rollup as a service player. However, we have huge respect to all of the rollup as a service players in the space, because having all these multiple players in the space, it makes rollup deployment more easily as well. It convinces more people to deploy their own dedicated rollup, which is relatively more interesting in general. Yeah.
Super, thanks. Yeah, I really like how this feels like a very collaborative space where like the sum of all and everyone trying to push the ecosystem in one common direction is really benefiting each other, and it really feels there's so much growth opportunities and different use cases that need to be catered to, that possibly like there's a room for a bunch of more different providers. So appreciate to share like the differentiating value proposition you guys bring to the table. That's super exciting. And speaking of obviously AltLayer and you guys, can you just give us a bit of I mean, you're constantly innovating, so just by following your socials, I think one can be up to speed. I'd be just curious, what are the areas you guys are working on currently? Where do you put your focus on? What's like the next thing you want to solve and focus on?
Yep, definitely. So I guess at the moment, as already mentioned, our core focus is on the Restake rollup perspective. So recently we have launched the first two AVS among six AVS during EigenLayer mainnet launch, and we have managed to success to have a stake amount of assets on top of EigenLayer portal with around 3.2 billion assets of worth Ethereum staked on top of our AVS in general. Our goal is to spin up more and more restake rollups, which is rollup frameworks that have AVS onboarded on top of them, which is the Mac product that I mentioned. And we are gradually rolling up with more projects in general, along with our partners. So some of the notable partners that we're working with include, as mentioned, Xterial, and soon we're gonna gradually announce more. We recently also have a partner called CyberConnect. We also have partners such as Swell, such as Doodoo Chain that will be slowly implementing this framework and become a restake rollup partner themselves in general. Yeah, that will be our core focus. Yeah.
And looking beyond your focus and to the broader landscape, so I think everybody is anticipating like a tremendous growth in the space. So it's not the first time I'm quoting this, but I was on a panel in Denver and somebody said like we'll have at least 1,000 rollups end of the year. How do you see and foresee like the scalability of the space, and how can we mitigate further fragmentation? We briefly touched upon this, but do you see some toolings which will overcome the fragmentation, anticipating such a strong growth in the ecosystem?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of infrastructure provider are trying to solve fragmentation within the space. Some of the notable partners that are solving this include partners like Layer Zero, Wormhole, Hyperlane, Socket, Omni Network, and as well as Seller Network as well. So I agree with you, Paul, that fragmentation still exists these days, but I think like it takes a bit more time for liquidity fragmentation to be solved with either like unified liquidity, either with like easier cross-chain solution, such as Optimism is pushing the superchain incentive that allows people to bridge assets superchain to superchain easily, as well as Polygon CDK is introducing this AltLayer that allows you to bridge CDK to CDK chains easily as well. Yeah, I believe it would take a bit more time, but people are working on solutions towards this at the moment.
Cool, appreciate this, and looking forward to seeing how this fragmentation is being overcome. Maybe as we're nearing our half the hour, I'd love to maybe 2 more questions, if that's okay. I'd love to get your perspective on where you see AltLayer being in, I don't know, a year, 2 years time. What's the big vision? What's driving you guys? Like even beyond the focus of Restake Rollups currently.
Yeah, definitely. So I think our vision within AltLayer, in simple terms, is we would like to accelerate rollups in general. So whatever that makes sense for us to make rollup experience better, we would definitely invest the time and money to do R&D to make rollup easier to use, easier to deploy, easier and better user experience in general. We would also like to work as much third-party partners that we're able to work with as well, maintain a good relationship. For example, like Dia Oracle is also one of our trusted partner within the Oracle space that we're trying to expand in general. So yep, that's pretty much our focus within the modular space. Go for bullish on the whole infrastructure space in general, and yeah, execute more dApps, bringing more Web2 users within the space in general. Yeah.
Super cool. That's super exciting. Maybe to finish this off, is there like, how can people best reach you? What's the best way to engage with AltLayer if you're planning to build a rollup?
Yeah, definitely. So if anyone that is interested to build a rollup in general, We have two ways of contact. Either you can contact me directly through my Twitter, which is the account I have at the moment. Second method is you could send an email through support@altresearch.com, and we would have representatives to respond to your queries immediately at the moment.
Very cool. Love how open and easy it is to get in touch with you guys. When this was so much fun. Thanks for sharing all these insights, and thank you all who joined us here, listen in, learn more about AltLayer, really a pioneering RAS provider which provides restaking rollups. Thanks so much, everyone, for listening and joining us. And thanks so much for taking the time and joining us. A true pleasure.
Thank you so much, Paul. It was a pleasure being on the space today.
Bye, guys.
See you guys.